Ryan Basset, the new police chief in the City of Sylvan Lake, joining us now in the Oakland County Megacast. Chief Basset, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Good to have you with us. How are you? How have you been over the course of the pandemic?
Good. I think like everybody, we've been trying to get through it, trying to make sure that everybody's family's healthy, safe, but so far so good.
So you were just recently named the chief of police in Sylvan Lake. I was going to ask if you've started already, but I see your uniform clearly has the Sylvan Lake insignia on it, so I'm assuming that's a yes. How's it been so far in this case? Now that we know you have, of course, started.
Well, I'm in my second week, so things have been great so far. I think so far on day what are we at now? Day 8, day 9, we're doing pretty good.
So your thoughts on the new city and department so far? How do you like it? How have you been adjusting? Anything that you are in the process of changing so far or readjusting?
So, honestly, being brand new to the department, I wanted to come in and just take a look at what's going on. And up to this point, I'm very impressed. It's a very professional group of officers. And then also getting a chance to spend more time in the community, get to know the community. Sylvan Lake is just a great community, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
For those unfamiliar, what's your previous experience before coming in and taking over the department here in Sylvan Lake?
So I spent 22 years in Southfield. I just recently retired from Southfield Police Department as the deputy chief of police. I was lucky enough to get to do, 1,000 different things at the department, every area of the department, and that experience I hope will serve me well in my new position.
So Ronnie over here, who hosts the show with me, Ronnie Dahl, in the studio with us at Lakes FM, she's in Keego Harbor. We work a lot with the Keego Harbor Police Department, and of course their police chief, who's been there for, I believe 2 years now, or just about 2 years, John Fitzgerald, also came from the Southfield Police Department. Is there something about the Southfield Police Department that just really makes it an easy fit coming into Greater West Bloomfield as a new police chief?
Well, I'll even go one further. Chief Joe George from Orchard Lake was also originally from Southfield. So all three of the chiefs are retired from Southfield. I think, to your point, what Southfield brings is, it's a larger city. You get a chance to really do a lot of different things. And I hope for myself, Chief Fitzgerald, Chief Joe George, that we all are able to bring that experience to our new communities.
And Chief, one of the things sometimes in the past, let's just say maybe a few other chiefs didn't get along so well. So now that you all have a similar background, you all come from the same department, do you think we're going to see a lot more working together between the three communities because we are so close together?
Yeah, to your point, I mean, they've been both chiefs have been extremely gracious, as well as West Bloomfield. Their chief, their deputy chief have already reached out to me. The only thing that I'm struggling with is both the Keego Harbor Police Department and Orchard Lake Police Department have instructed me that I have to buy lunch. So I'm still trying to work through that. I'm not sure if that's an indefinite order or if it's just a couple lunches. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Well, I think they should have to return the favor as well as a welcoming you to the community.
No, in all seriousness, they've been great. They've been very gracious. They've said, any questions, any challenges, any things that we need, and also just looking at making sure that we're capitalizing on the resources we have and making sure to help each other. So they've been great, and I look forward to strengthening those partnerships.
How many people on your force currently, full-time, part-time?
So we have 5 full-time officers, 2 part-time officers, and 4 reserve officers.
Having to patrol during the pandemic, what's the biggest challenge? Are you able to still get PPE? I know in the beginning it was hard. The supply chain seems to be opening up, but do you anticipate the longer this goes on that could become an issue?
So, to your point, at the beginning, it was very difficult. It was challenging because, of course, everybody, the private sector, government, everybody was trying to get a hold of that PPE. We've been lucky that we have our partners at Oakland County and working with them in Homeland Security through Oakland County. We've been able to get the necessary PPE that is, to make sure that we're able to operate. Obviously, I don't know what that's going to look like in 6 months, but at this point, we have been able to get all of the PPE that we need so that our officers are safe.
Brian Basset, the Sylvan Lake Police Chief, joining us on the Oakland County MegaCast today on our family of TV and radio stations all throughout the local area. Chief, you're coming in to this new position at a really interesting time in our country as the public is battling for police reforms and urging police reforms, better training, better operations day to day, community relations, and so on. Your thoughts on the situation and what kind of training are you requiring in Sylvan Lake? Have you been accustomed to from your experience in Southfield? And what is needed going forward to make those necessary changes that we've been talking about for the course of this entire month?
So as I mentioned before, the group of officers that we have here in Sylvan Lake, are very professional. I'm excited to work with them. And I think that, my experience is we focused on use of force. We focused on de-escalation. We focused on implicit bias. And I will continue to emphasize training and making sure that the officers have the training that they need. But to your original point of this being, I guess, an interesting time, a challenging time, I look at it in law enforcement as an opportunity. I fully support individuals coming out and, expressing their First Amendment rights. And what I think it does, sometimes they're uncomfortable, but I really think it creates an opportunity for conversation, not just conversation with law enforcement, but conversation with society as a whole. Conversation with how is society going to interact with those with mental illness, and how are we going to deal with that? Conversations about how are we going to deal with those with drug addiction, and again, as a society, are we going to treat that? How are we going to interact with that as law enforcement? So they're challenging questions. They're at times uncomfortable to work through, but I think that it's good to have those discussions. And again, I see it as a positive for law enforcement. I see it as a positive for society as a whole to get that chance to really talk about that and for everybody to be engaged in the process.
Brian Basset is with us, the new Sylvan Lake Police Chief on the Oakland County MegaCast on Civic Center TV, Lakes FM, Birmingham Area Municipal Access Television, as well as 88.1 The Biff, WAHS, 89.5 Avondale Community Radio, and the Facebook page of the Oakland County Animal Shelter and Pet Adoption Center. Chief, the 4th of July holiday is coming up. A lot of waterfront in Sylvan Lake, a lot of beachfront in Sylvan Lake, and fireworks shows all throughout the local area are also being canceled, so people are using more consumer fireworks as well. Let's go through it one by one. In terms of beachfront and watercraft safety, what are you encouraging for residents of the city of Sylvan Lake and those who may be coming in to Sylvan Lake to engage in those activities to keep the community safe during these times?
Yeah, so obviously, anytime you have these holiday weekends, long, holiday periods, in law enforcement are always concerned about the mix of, water sports, boating, alcohol, fireworks. So as always, we encourage being responsible, whether that's, your use of alcohol, whether it's fireworks. Please be safe, be responsible. If you have any specific questions about anything, we'd be happy to answer that. But again, we just caution, have a great time, enjoy your family, but please, be cautious.
Chief, if you can clarify something for me, I'm always confused when I go to Sylvan Lake. And if you're going down to the beach area and they have the barricades up, does that mean if you don't live in Sylvan Lake, you can't go to that area? Or can you go around the barricades? I've seen that a few times. What exactly is the purpose, and what's the proper rules and regulations surrounding that? Because I may have once or twice broken them, possibly. Oh, no. But I like to run through there, and the beach there is great.
So first and foremost, the barricades are designed to prevent vehicular traffic. And I think really it's indicative of what Sylvan Lake is in the community. It's a very family-friendly environment. We want it to be walkable. So when you see those barricades, it's meant for vehicular traffic. To your point, if you're running, I'm also a runner, so I hope you enjoy it. We've had great weather for running the last couple weeks, so hopefully you're getting a chance to get out. But if you're using our parks or the beaches, you have to have a park pass, which you can get from City Hall here. So, but again, if to your point, if you're running through, I hope you're running. I hope you're enjoying it.
Thank you. And just to clarify, to get the park pass, you do have to be a Sylvan Lake resident then.
Correct.
Okay. And is there a fee with that?
There is, yes. And right off the top of my head, I'm sorry, I'm blanking out on the amount, so I don't want to quote it. So, but City Hall, make sure to get you those fees.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Brian Basset with us, the Sylvan Lake Police Chief on our family of TV and radio stations that makes up the Oakland County Megacast. Chief Basset, before we let you go, anything else you'd like to say or any other topics that we haven't touched on just yet?
No, again, I'm just, very grateful that, to be now working with Sylvan Lake and also the whole greater West Bloomfield area. It's just a wonderful community. And I look to, I'm excited to serve the community and continue to strengthen the partnership between law enforcement and the community. So I appreciate the opportunity today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate having you on as well. Chief Brian Basset, the new Chief of Police for the City of Sylvan Lake, with us on the Oakland County Megacast.